This NFL Week 7 pregame show edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100x. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $500. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off of your first purchase. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. And we're giving away $3,000 in our NFL Second Chance Survivor Contest presented by Corey Pinkston and Barking Dog Properties. The contest starts today, NFL Week 7, and it's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Week 7 pregame show, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Sunday, October 22nd, just about 3 hours away from kickoff, and we're going to do it how we usually do it here. We're going to go through every single game. We'll get you guys updated on the latest injury news, and then we also give out our player props for each game if we have some, and then at the towards the end of the show, we'll put together our touchdown parlay, and then we'll also put together our underdog fantasy pick'em contest entry as well. But joining me, as usual, here to help me break it all down, I got my guy here, Lante Smith. Lante, how's it going, my man?
Not bad, man. Looking forward to a pretty good slate of games, to be honest with you. So some intriguing matchups. It's teams playing, actually getting a test and playing somebody with a pulse. So, yeah, looking forward to breaking it down with you.
Yeah, a lot of lines this week that are right around a field goal. I know there's only I think just one game that's above a touchdown, which is the Bills and the Patriots. I know you and I did the Monday Night Football pod yesterday, and at that time the line was San Francisco -7, and now it's down to 6.5. With a nose, I'm assuming because Debo is not going to be playing at least for the next 2 games for the San Francisco 49ers. But if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to the Monday Night Football pod, make sure you get over there, check it out before you bet on anything for Monday Night Football. We've been doing pretty well for the Monday Night Football games. Lance, let's just kick it off, man. We got a lot of games to get through. I'm sure we have a lot of prop picks to give out as well. And we're doing real well with our player prop picks here. So the first game, like I mentioned, the only game right now on the Sunday schedule that has a spread of at least a touchdown or more, that's going to be the Buffalo Bills. They are in Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Currently, the Bills are a 7.5-point favorite. Player props in this game, what you are looking at, Lante, and I'll pull up the injury report while you give yours out if you have any.
Yeah, not much here, man. It's hard to go with anything on the New England side just simply because they just have been so inept offensively. I was kind of looking at a Mac Jones under, but on his passing yards, but I kind of don't want to go there because I think they're going to be playing, in a negative game script.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with James Cook over 71.5 rushing and receiving yards. He's over in 4 of his last 5 games. New England struggled a bit, with versatile backs. Kamara had 93, Jacobs had 97 combined rushing and receiving yards against his defense. So I think that he can have some success here. Damian Harris being out obviously increases his limit or his snap share. So I think he can have a good day here on the ground and receiving the ball. They've been splitting them out in the slot a decent amount. And I think that New England's secondary issues, well, actually, back five or back seven have been injured pretty much. So I like James Cook over 71.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Yeah, this was going to be the Damian Harris quote unquote revenge game, but
Yeah.
not playing in this game, and no significant injuries really for the New England Patriots. Juju Smith-Schuster isn't expected to suit up; he's still in concussion protocol. Hunter Henry, tight end, expected to suit up, and that is pretty much it for the Buffalo side. Like you mentioned, Damian Harris has been placed on the injured reserve, dealing with a concussion as well. Cam Lewis, cornerback, is the only one that's out for the Buffalo Bills, and also Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, is out. So maybe an opportunity for Ramondre Stevenson to have a game on the ground here for the New England Patriots. Yeah, I didn't have much here either. I was curious to see what Ramondre Stevenson's rushing yards were. It's at 43.5. It seems a tad bit low, but I think it's down. It's low for a reason. So curious to see Mac Jones' number here as well on his passing yards to 181.5.
That's slow as hell. Wow.
It is. I mean, that for exactly what you mentioned, right? Just because they probably are going to be playing from behind in this game. And this is going to be one of the, traditionally we've seen this game really be lower scoring. I know there was a game last year, the season prior, where weather was just an absolute factor in the game, and it just turned into a running game for both these teams, in fact. All right, let's get over to the next game here, Lante. We got the Detroit Lions. They are taking out probably the more exciting or matchup of the week, I think we should say. I think we'll find out a lot about both these teams as they face each other here. Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens currently sitting at a 3-point favorite in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, CJ Gardner-Johnson was put on the IR. Craig Reynolds, running back, is expected to suit up for the Detroit Lions. Let's see here. Anything else of significance? Marvin Jones Jr. continues to be out. We know David Montgomery is going to be out as well. Looks like Jahmyr Gibbs and both Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to be playing in this game. For the Baltimore Ravens, Marlon Humphreys is still listed officially as questionable due to an illness. Some cornerback in news there for the Baltimore Ravens. Marcus Williams, safety, is listed out for today's game. And that is pretty much the significant injury news. Anything you're looking at as far as player props in this game?
Yeah, it's an interesting game, man. Especially with Detroit. If you look at Detroit's schedule, they haven't really played a lot of solid quarterbacks. They play Baker, Bryce Young, Geno Smith. They did play Mahomes and they won, but they haven't really played a decent quarterback, especially with a dual threat. And I think Lamar Jackson is going to be able to use his legs here. So I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson over his passing plus rushing yards. Let me make sure. Let me get a up-to-date number on that because I think it had moved.
For who?
Lamar Jackson over passing plus rushing yards.
Let's see.
I think it had moved.
279.5.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think he'll be able to move the ball on the Detroit defense in the secondary. I also like Mark Andrews over 52.5 receiving yards. He's gonna get a lot of targets. Is OBJ in today?
Yeah, I don't see him on the injury report.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think he'll get a lot of targets over the middle of that defense. Lamar is really good at of course, eluding the pass rush. So I think he'll drop it off to Andrews. He'll have a decent game. And I'm going to go with under 58.5 rushing yards on Jahmyr Gibbs. He hasn't looked as good as I would like him to look because he's on my fantasy team. But I know he's been banged up, but I just don't think he'll be able to get much going with the Baltimore rush defense. So I like him under 58.5 rushing yards. Mark Andrews over 52.5 receiving yards, and the Lamar Jackson pass rushing yards over as well.
Yeah, I got to go with my guy, Zay Flowers, in this game. I like his over on either his receptions. You can take the over. That number is at 5.5 at plus money. I'm sure you can find a 4.5, but it's probably going to be juiced. And then looking at his receiving yards, anything around, he's usually been hovering around that 55.5 mark. But yeah, he's at 56.5 right now. So I do like him to get over that number for the Baltimore Ravens here. And then always, receptions for Amon-Ra St. Brown. That number is cemented at 6.5 for him weekly. So I do like him as well at over 6.5 for Amon-Ra St. Brown on his receptions. Next game on the board here, Lante. Let's go over to the Washington Commanders taking on your New York Football Giants. The Commanders are a 3-point road favorite here. Total at 38. Looking at the injury report, let's start here with the Washington Commanders. Nothing really of significance. They have a couple guys that have been put on the IR, but I think pretty clean injury report for them. For your New York Football Giants, Daniel Jones will be out for a second straight week. Let's see. Evan Neal is also questionable. Adoree Jackson is questionable. And let's see. Andrew Thomas has been ruled out. I did see a note that he is targeting to be back next week for this New York Giants team. So some good news there for Giants fans. What are you looking at in this game?
Yeah, I think this is a game that the Giants can win, actually. So I think they definitely have the coaching edge 100% here.
Yeah.
And, Tyrod got a week under his belt to get a little bit healthier, familiar with the system. But two things I'm looking at, both on the Washington side. I don't really trust the offense of the Giants, so I'm staying away from their player props. I do like Terry McLaurin over 58.5 receiving yards. The Giants typically struggle versus number one wide receivers. They've allowed over 100 yards in 3 of the last 4 to wide receiver ones. McLaurin's had 80+ in 2 of his last 3 games, double-digit targets in both of those also. Adoree usually operates in the slot. He's not going to be there, so I think McLaurin is going to be elite in the slot today. I would look for him to go 100+ here. And another one I have is Sam Howell over 14.5 rushing yards. The O-line is horrible for both of these teams. Sam Howell, I think, is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. He's been sacked 5+ times in every game but one.
Wow.
He's also over this number in 3 of the last 4. The Giants the front 4 is, or when they rotate those guys, I think about a 4 to 6 man front that they rotate. It's pretty good at getting pressure with Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, and those guys up front. So I think Howell will be able to step up in the pocket and run a little bit on this Giants defense. So I like him over 14.5 rushing yards and McLaurin over 58.5 receiving yards.
Well, if you don't want to be the homer guy, I'll be the homer guy for you. I'll go with some props here for the New York Giants. You mentioned Sam Howell on his over rushing yards. I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor. I think that his legs, he has to use his legs to be effective in this game, right? And I think last week they had the opportunity to win that game. Let's not kid ourselves. It was just at the end of the half for each first half. We saw that they called, or he checked down to a running play, didn't work out, and then the missed pass interference / holding call against Darren Waller that wasn't called. That would have gave him another, I guess, untimed down. But I like what I saw from from Tyrod Taylor last week. I think that he'll be able to utilize his legs again. So I see the number at 22.5 for his rushing yards. I do like that. And I've been on this wagon of fading the secondary for the Commanders because they've been giving up those long receptions to respective quarterbacks. I'm trying to look at either if I want to take an over on his longest completion for Tyrod Taylor or just find a specific player to go for their longest completion. So I think you would know better that who would be the downfield threat for this New York Giants wide receiving core, or for who?
Darius Slayton is probably going to be the biggest threat to catch a deep ball. I think he plays a lot on the outside. They usually, when they do put him in a slot, he usually does somewhat of a double move and go. He never really goes underneath because they try to keep Waller underneath. Keep that lane clear for Waller underneath. I think Slayton is the most prime candidate. Hyatt's not been getting the snaps like that, but he would be a prime guy, deep guy. He should be getting more snaps, but for whatever reason, I don't know if he's just not performing well in practice or whatever. But I think Slayton is the prime guy for a longest reception if you're looking for a guy like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the box score from last week because it feels like there's a lot of big plays that they had last week against the Buffalo Bills. Quickly, I'll get to it here. So last week, Darius Slayton had one for 31 yards. Darren Waller had one for 20. And Yeah, so I think Darius Slayton right now is at 17.5 for his
Oh,
longest
yeah,
reception.
I like that.
And then who was the other one I was looking at? I was curious about Saquon at 10.5. I think he could break
Yeah, screen
break
pass or something
a
like that.
screen
Yeah,
pass out.
yeah,
Yeah, something
yeah.
like that. But I'm gonna pull up Saquon's numbers against the Commanders because I feel like he's had some success, at least catching the ball in his
Yeah, I probably look at his
career.
reception too. Saquon.
Yeah, so he had so going to getting back to his career, let's just say 9 receptions, 4.42, 3.55.
Yeah.
So his receptions, let's see here. I think this might be something for us to get down on. If it's at 2.5, I think we got to take the over. It's 3.5 at plus 110. So they're kind of catching on to it. So they think it's 3.5 for his receptions, and you probably think that his receiving yards are going to go over. That number's at 21.5.
Yeah, I'd rather take the receiving yards because he's going to
Yeah.
get more volume. I mean, one catch he can take it for 25 plus yards.
Yeah. So I look at that 21.5 Saquon Barkley on his receiving yards. And then Darius Slayton, longest reception over 17.5, and Tyrod Taylor over on his rushing yards, 22.5. So there you go. I'll give out 3-player props for the New York Football Giants there. All right, Lante, let's get over to the next game here. We've got the Atlanta Falcons. They are in Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. This line is at 2.5, trending towards 3 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers last week, I know, took the L against the Detroit Lions, and Baker Mayfield came out and pretty much said that this offense sunk and it was on his shoulders. I know you and I have talked a lot about wide receivers being disgruntled. I think that's a segment that we'll add starting today. We'll talk about that at the end of the show here, but let me start with the injury report here, and then we'll get to the player props. So for the Atlanta Falcons, we have nothing really of significance. Eddie Goldman, I mean, that was way before the season, but pretty healthy squad for the Atlanta Falcons. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Vita Vea is officially listed as questionable for today's game against Atlanta Falcons. I mean, that's a big injury there if he's able to go or not, because he's pretty much their run stopper in that middle of that defensive line. So again, it could be a big Bijan day if he's not there. It might be a limited day if Bijan's not there. That's pretty much it as far as injury. So both teams are pretty much healthy. I'll try to find out the latest news for Vita Vea if he's able to go here tonight or this afternoon or not. But player props in this game here, Lante, what do you do like?
Yeah, so I'm gonna look at Bijan to go under here on his rushing yards. That is, so I'm gonna look at him to go
Yeah.
under. He's under in back-to-back games and 3 of the last 4. Tampa 7th in rush defense. I know Vita Vea is definitely vital here, especially up the middle. They've shut down a lot of decent backs. I mean, Montgomery had 14 yards. I think he got hurt in that game, so I don't know how much to put into that. Kamara 51. Herbert and Johnson for Chicago had under 40 yards against his defense. So I think Bijan will be able to do more in the receiving game rather than the rushing game. I mean, Tampa has been known for the past few years that you just can't run on Tampa. So
Yeah.
I think Bijan under 55.5 rushing yards and over his receiving yards would be pretty much a good bet. I think it's correlated here. I do like Mike Evans over, 56.5 receiving yards. He is under 50 in back-to-back games, but he's been getting the volume. I think Baker was missing him a bunch last week, so I think he'll make up for that. He's over in 5 of the last 7 matchups. Usually performs really well against Atlanta. He's had 3 straight over this number. He's also had 10 career touchdowns versus Atlanta. So he'll probably be in a touchdown parlay that we go in. But I do like Mike Evans to bounce back here and have a pretty big day. So over 56.5 and Bijan under 55.5 rushing yards.
I was looking for Baker Mayfield's rush attempts. They never put that line out because I know, at least in the early innings,
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about it last week. Yeah.
he was utilizing his legs, but last week he didn't do a lot. He had 2 attempts for 6 yards, but I like that angle of Bijan Robinson receiving yards because you take a look at what running backs have done pass catching against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 35 yards, 33. The Eagles running backs only had 13 receiving yards, but they had a field day to DeAndre Swift on the ground, 16 for 130. But that's really been the only running back against the Buccaneers defense that has had a lot of success. But other than that, it's been a lot of games where they've held them to 34, 34, 59 as far as on the ground. Saints, Alvin Kamara, that was a week where he had 13 receptions, 33 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then last week against the Lions, Craig Reynolds, 2 receptions, 28 yards. David Montgomery, 1 for 19. So I think you're 100% correct. I really like that angle of Bijan in the passing game, and I'm trying to find his receiving yards number. It's at 25.5 for this game. I don't hate that. And then his receptions, anything at 2.5, I got to take the over. That's at 3.5 at -125. So, yeah, definitely they're going to get involved some way, somehow. If it's not through the ground, it's going to be in the passing game, whether it's with, quick stuff or check downs or screen passes for Bijan Robinson. I think someone had put out a parlay they liked for this game. Nick, yeah, he has Desmond Ridder 200 passing yards in this game. Bijan Robinson 3+ receptions. Mike Evans 4+ receptions. And Cooper Kupp 100+ receiving yards. I really like that. Desmond Ridder, I think you and I have talked about this as well in the pregame show, that they really opened up the playbook for Desmond Ridder. I guess it's either that he's gotten more comfortable with just playing at the professional level, or that he understands, or the coaching staff trusts him a little more now, and maybe a little combination of both. I mean, Mike Evans' resume speaks for himself, and then you also add the Bijan Robinson we just discussed, and Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's an automatic 100 every single week. There's no question about it. So I really like that from Nick. Let's see, anybody else in the comments? Tyler, he likes Bijan Robinson over 3.5 receptions. Yeah, definitely agree with that there. Yeah. All right, so let's get over to the next game here, Lante. We've got this is an ugly game. We got the Raiders and the Chicago Bears. Both teams have backup quarterbacks playing in this game. I believe it is Brian Hoyer getting the start here for the Las Vegas Raiders, and then for the Bears, I don't know what the heck his name is. Let's see if I can find it. But let me get to the injury report here. So for the Raiders, obviously Jimmy Garoppolo out. Nate Hobbs, cornerback, is out. So they're a little thin at that cornerback position. Jacorian Bennett is also out as well. For the Chicago Bears, obviously Justin Fields out in this game. And that is pretty much it as far as significant injuries. Eddie Jackson, safety, listed out against the Raiders. Roshan Johnson is also out in this game. He is dealing with a concussion. Terrell Smith, cornerback, is out, and then Nate Davis, guard, is also been ruled out. So both teams they're going to be a little bit thin at that cornerback / secondary positions. Anything that you do like for this game? I know you and I have talked about that disgruntled wide receiver. I think it might just be Devontae Adams this week here, Lante.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing you can look for. This is a disgusting game. This is probably like a MAC game on a Tuesday night. To be honest, like this is horrible. Actually, the MAC might be a little bit more competitive than this game. I do think that Chicago is live to win this game here. I don't trust the Raiders secondary. You mentioned those two guys. The secondary wasn't good with those two guys, so
yeah.
I don't know how big the downgrade is going to be. Maybe it's it's a net negative and it's not really a downgrade at all. I do think DJ Moore can succeed here as well. I mean, he's been getting all the targets, and I'm pretty sure that the quarterback. I forgot the quarterback's name.
Oh yeah, that's something I was looking up.
I think his dad is like the arm wrestling champ and the national arm wrestling champ or something like that. They said on the broadcast.
Tyson Baggett.
Yeah, there we go. I think he's a D2 quarterback. My guy Kobe would know probably more about him.
College was Shepherd.
Yeah, that's D2. They're pretty good actually. But so I think that DJ Moore has a good game. I would look at his receptions to go over. They're really banged up in the running back room, so I don't know how much they'll be running the ball. I think Roshan is out. Khalil Herbert, I know for sure, is out. I think they signed like some guys from the practice squad, so I'll be looking for a lot of like short dump off stuff to DJ Moore, maybe some cold commit as well. On the opposite side, I mean, obviously, we just got to go with Devontae Adams. I mean, we've been harping on it since we started the show. I mean, receivers come out and they talk about how they want to be, more involved in the offense, which is what Devontae Adams did this week. The team said they're not going to trade him, so perfect chance for them to just like feed him the ball like time after time, especially with Hoyer, veteran quarterback. He's not the greatest, but he has experience, so he knows how to get guys the ball. So isn't he familiar with McDaniel's system? He played under McDaniel's when he was in New England,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, right?
100%. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think he'll be fine here. I'll ladder up Adams 100 plus. I think he has a big day.
80 plus plus 105, 90 plus plus 155, 100 plus is at plus 220. So
Yeah, give me that 100 plus.
yeah, I mean, I think the books know that it should be a Devontae Adams day. Receptions are at 5.5. If you're able to find a 6.5 at plus money, I would bet that as well. DraftKings currently has it at 5.5 at minus 160 for Devontae Adams on his receptions. I'm just curious to see what Brian Hoyer's passing yards are in this game, because this might just be a sneaky like ladder opportunity. It is at 224.5. It's a little higher than I expected, but I mean, if you think he gets 250 plus passing yards, that's only at plus 160. So I think the books know how bad the secondary is for the Chicago Bears. All right, let's get over to the next game here, Lante. Another ugly one here. We got the Cleveland Browns. They are in Indy to take on the Colts. Currently, the Colts are a 3-point favorite. Looks like it's trending. I decided to pop at 3.5. I think money probably came back on the Colts at that point, but right now sitting at -3 at minus 118. So around 3.25 ish, but it looks like it's going to go towards 3.5 maybe. But obviously, the big news here is we're trying to figure out if Deshaun Watson is playing in this game or not. I was looking last night at some props as well, but they had Deshaun Watson props listed. Let me see if he's still listed here. Passing yards. Yeah, I mean, it says Deshaun Watson is still there. Let's see if we can find it on the injury report here. Go back.
I think he's going to play because it wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be 3.5 if it was going to PJ.
Yeah,
Walker.
I think so. Yeah, 100%. Injury report says he's still questionable, but is on track to start. Okay, so yeah, I mean, expect Deshaun Watson to be out there. Kareem Hunt is considered a game time decision. I did read that he's going to try to work out pregame and see if everything is good. He'll probably be out there. And then Harrison Bryant, tight end for the Cleveland Browns, is expected to play here. Greg Newsome, cornerback, is listed questionable. And then that is pretty much it for the Cleveland Browns. For Indy, it is going to be the Gardner Minshew show again. Obviously, we know that Anthony Richardson has been shut down for the year. He's going shoulder surgery to repair the shoulder. Alec Pierce, wide receiver, questionable for this game. Brandon Smith, offensive tackle, is also listed out for this game. And then Colin Granson is also listed out, tight end here. Lots of any player props you're looking at in this game?
Yeah, I'm looking at 2, 1 on each side. I like Elijah Moore over 3.5 receptions. He's over in 2 of the 3 games that he's played with Watson. Targeted 7+ times in all 3 games. I think actually was not targeted 9 times in 2 of those 3 games. Slot receivers have had solid days versus Indy's defense. Wait, before I say, does Tank Dell, he operates a lot more in the slot, right? He's not like outside.
Tank. Yeah, because Nico's usually on the
Right,
outside.
that's what I was thinking.
And then
Robert Woods as well.
It's either Robert Woods or him, but yeah.
Yeah, so Tank Dell, I mean, either way, Tank Dell and Nico Collins both had solid days against this Indy defense. Christian Kirk and Puka Nacua all had great days as well in the slot. So I think each one more over 3.5 receptions, and probably would ladder his receiving yards to go up as well. He could take a screen or a little tunnel to 20+ yards. So I like him over 3.5 receptions a lot. I'd like Minshew over 199.5 passing yards. I think that's way too low. I think the game plan has to be to throw the ball more. I mean, Cleveland's pass defense is good, but their rush defense is elite, one of the best in the NFL. He's over this in both games that he started this year. He's averaging 49.5 attempts in both starts. Like, that's almost 50 attempts a game. I mean, I'm not a math major, but 50 attempts and 200 yards, that's not hard to get. Especially if you're going to be in a script where I don't think you'll be able to move the ball. Now you do have, solid backs with Taylor getting, a little bit more, getting his feet wet a little more. And then you have Zach Moss has been playing really well, but I just don't think they'll be able to line up and run the ball against this Cleveland front. So I think Minshew will be able to throw the ball today. So 199.5 passing yards, I think it's way too low for a guy who's throwing it over 49 times, over 45 times a game. So give me over 199.5 passing yards for Gardner Minshew. I think that's way too low.
Catfish Dilly read my mind. I was looking at Minshew interception at minus 130. I know he had 3 last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars playing from behind. Also had 33 completions, 55 attempts in that game, 329 yards. But we talk about this Browns defense. I mean, they've just been absolutely incredible to start the season. I think that it's probably in the deck of cards that he ends up throwing an interception in this game. I was looking at that, thought minus one. I mean, it feels right, but I think I do like Minshew to throw an interception here. And if indeed Deshaun Watson is back and is playing in this game, I got to go to his guy that he's been looking at as far as wide receivers. It's squared by Amari Cooper. The books just all keep putting his number at 55.5 ish. I'm trying to find the number right now for him. He's at 61.5, but I still like it. I think that Deshaun Watson and him just kind of have that chemistry that they've built dating back to last season. And also, if you want to back Amari Cooper maybe for his longest reception to go over as well, I'm trying to pull up that number. But he's been money and one of the more consistent guys. It's at 22.5. He's gone over this in 3 of the last 4 weeks. Last week, he had a long touchdown of 58 yards. Week prior against the Baltimore Ravens, only 16, but then 43 against the Titans, 23 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then 20 against the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1, where we talked about it was just a monsoon out there in that game. So I'm looking at Amari Cooper, 61.5. I wanted to get behind Michael Pittman because he's pretty much the guy for this wide receiving group, at least the more consistent guys. And I know he's on my fantasy team and he's done real well. Hasn't recorded a touchdown just yet, but last week he had 14 targets from Gardner Minshew. So that may be something you look at. Maybe his receptions to go over. If that's at 4.5, Lante, I have to pull the trigger on the over on that.
Yeah, as long as it's not too juiced, I like that as well.
Let me see here. Yeah, it's at minus 160.
Yeah, that's too juiced. You might as well just play 5. 5.5.
Yeah, you might as well play 5 at that point. So Amari Cooper, 4.5, minus 125. I don't hate that. So yeah, that was the angles that I was looking at in this game. Moneyline Mac in the house. Yeah, he's intrigued by this schedule of games here as well. A lot of games within that 2.5 field goal mark. So it's definitely going to be a interesting week. I guess we should say a lot of close games. Maybe it's a lot of games that come down to the wire. I wonder if there's a prop out there, Lante, that will any games go into overtime? I think that might be something.
I think the thing is, it's mostly like the Vegas books. They put that stuff out, the exotic stuff. I don't see it a lot with like FanDuel, DraftKings, stuff like that. But like Vegas, like Circa, who else is Westgate? They do it. I know Westgate does a real good job of putting props like that up. Overtime, safety in any game. Like how many? I think they even have how many games will be decided by one possession. Like a lot of exotic stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's get over to, I think that's the last of the early games, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so let's get over to the late afternoon starts. The first game we'll get to here, 4:05 Eastern start, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams. Rams a 3-point favorite as it stands right now. Looking at some of the injury news in this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pat Freiermuth was put on the IR on Friday, so he's going to miss at least a minimum of 4 games. Anthony McFarland Jr., running back, was a full participant. He's dealing with a knee injury. Cameron Hayward back on September 17th was put on the IR. He should be coming back fairly soon for that defense.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah.
But that is pretty much it. Also, should mention that Deontay Johnson is back for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So some offensive help coming back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. For the Los Angeles Rams, let's see here. We know about Kyren Williams. He was placed on the IR. They did sign Darrell Henderson, and they said, what's the other running back's name? Ronnie.
It was who was it?
Let me see if I can find it here. Ronnie Rivers.
You might be right. My screen isn't loading.
Yeah, I think Daryl Henderson and Ronnie Rivers. So I think they said that those two guys will be obviously taking over for the running back group.
Oh,
And
Royce Freeman. They got Royce Freeman.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Royce Freeman. You're right. Sorry. Yeah, Royce Freeman and Daryl Henderson. So those are the two guys that they were looking at. But other than that, pretty clean injury report for the Los Angeles Rams. Player props in this game here, Lante.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the newcomer coming back, Deontay Johnson, over 4.5 receptions. I think he is the underneath threat that allows Pickens to go run a deeper routes. Pickett is, obviously not going to stretch the field a lot here. So I think Deontay Johnson has been a target monster when he's been in the game. I think him and Pickett have a good rapport. So I like him over 4.5 receptions. That's at plus money as well. So anything plus money on that, I'm fine with. I'm going to go with my guy, Jaylen Warren, over 53.5 rushing and receiving yards. He's second actually on the team in receptions and receiving yards. I'm not sure if that's ever been done by a backup running back. So he's second on the team in receptions and receiving yards. He's over.
He should be the starter in my opinion.
Right. He's over in 3 of the last 4 games. Yeah, he should be. He's over in 3 of the last 4 games. I mean, Najee's not really getting it done right now. I'm not sure what's going on. Jaylen Warren just running he's more hungry. So he's running, and I think his style fits what Tomlin actually likes, the bruiser style. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, lower center of gravity to the ground. So I think Jaylen Warren has a big day here, 53.5 rushing and receiving yards. I do like Stafford over 260.5 passing yards. Steelers have allowed 300 plus to 3 of the 5 QBs that they faced this year. Jimmy G, CJ Stroud, Purdy, all guys who are not really, well, CJ Stroud, small sample size, but Jimmy G and Purdy, you don't really associate 300-yard games with them. Just the defense has been bad for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the secondary. They're also Stafford's also over in 4 of the last 6 games. The running back situation has been up in the air. Honestly, to me, I don't think. To a lot of people, I don't think running backs are that valuable, and especially not in McVay's system. I'm pretty sure he can scheme up something for me and you. To get 30 or 40 yards here. So I like Stafford over 260.5 passing yards. I think they'll be able to expose that Pittsburgh defense. So Stafford over 260.5, Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions, and Jaylen Warren over 53.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Yeah, I don't hate those. I just gotta go chalk, man. Cooper Kupp, the guy's just an animal. I mean,
yeah.
Like when in doubt, Matthew Stafford's going to go out and find him, right? And again, you take a look at the numbers in the first 2 weeks that he's returned for this team: 7 receptions, 8 receptions, 9 targets, 12 targets, 148 receiving yards, 118 yards against the Eagles. Long receptions of 49 and 39. So not only is he a great downfield threat for Matthew Stafford, but he's also a guy that we know that can catch it and break one out and get his yardage that way. Hit numbers at 91.5 right now, 92.5. At even money. Looking at his longest completion here, longest reception, anything at under 25.5, I will be on the over, but that number's at 26.5 right now for Cooper Kupp. But again, he's a guy that target monster, receptions monster, yardage monster. The dude is just the monster himself. So Cooper Kupp for me. I like your angle of Matthew Stafford on his passing yards as well. Curious to see what Tutu Atwell has been doing, because I feel like he's also a downfield threat for this Rams attack, but he just doesn't get the targets. Last week he had 1 reception for 30 yards. I think that's the only downfall, especially with Cooper Kupp being back for this team. Didn't really have anything for the Steelers side. I just want to see how the offense is now adjusted with Deontay Johnson back and them also coming off of the bye week as well. If you want to look at maybe Kenny Pickett for longest completion, numbers at 34.5, but he's had long completions of 41, 72, 71, 32, and then 31. So 3 out of the 5 games he's gone over, and then the other 2 games he's been in that neighborhood of getting over that longest completion for his stats. Anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right, next game, let's get over to the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of injury news in this game, especially for the Seattle Seahawks. So backup running back Zach Charbonnet has been ruled out for this game. DK Metcalf, who was listed as questionable over the last 2 weeks with a rib injury, he is listed questionable with a hip and rib injury this week. And he may not be available to play in this game. So it looks like he's trending towards not playing in this game. So two guys that are going to be down for the Seattle Seahawks offense. For the Arizona Cardinals, let me see if I can find anything of significance as far as their injury report goes. We heard the news about Kyler Murray starting to practice, but I think he's still a ways away from returning to game time. Garrett Williams, cornerback, is been upgraded to questionable. He's activated off of the reserve non-football injury list on Saturday. Budda Baker was activated as well off of the IR. He is expected to play here in week 7. So some reinforcements coming back for that secondary of the Arizona Cardinals. I think I'm starting here with Kenneth Walker in this game. Over 78.5, I think, is a number on his rushing yards now. I'm trying to pull up the exact number here. Let me see, because this was, I think it opened about 71.5 and jumped all the way up to 78.5 for Kenneth Walker. It's at 79.5 now. So, I mean, you take a look at his career against this Cardinals lack of rush defense, I guess I should say. Last season, he played in 2 games in his rookie year. In those 2 games, he went over 100 rushing yards on the ground. Sorry, he had 21 attempts, 97 last season, and then 26 for 109. He's also getting the rush attempts as well, right? We know that Pete Carroll likes running the football, and he's averaging over the last 4 weeks right around 18 carries per game. So if you want to take a look at that, I do like him to find the end zone in this game, but I love Kenneth Walker in this game. I laddered that up all the way up to 100 in this game. That was when I was looking at in this game here, Lante.
Yeah, man, he hurt us last week. He started off really good on that one series, and then he kind of just couldn't get anything going. That was probably one of my bigger positions actually on the week, so that kind of hurt. But yeah, I'm right back with you. I would love to go over both of those. If you can parlay attempts, and if your book will let you parlay attempts and yards, I think that's a good play. It's a great breakdown by you. So I completely agree with that. I'm going with Dobbs over 22.5 rushing yards. He's had 40 plus, he's had 40 plus in 4 of the last 5 games. He's actually running the ball a decent amount, 6+ attempts in that span. And Seattle, they haven't faced many dual threat quarterbacks. But when they did, Daniel Jones was the only one that I would say the only one that they faced. He had 10 for 68. So I think Seattle's defense is really good against the run. They're 4th against the run, 28th versus the pass. Now, I don't trust Dobbs to get it done with his arm, but I do think that he'll be dropping back a lot to try to, expose the weakness in Seattle's defense. So I think when he jumps back, I think he'll be able to run and get some yards here. 22.5 for a guy that's went over 40 plus and has 6+ attempts. What is that? I mean, if we go 6 for, all he needs is 23. So, I mean, 10 yards here, 5 yards there, a couple 2 yards here. So I think he can get this pretty easily. So I'm going with Dobbs over 22.5 rushing yards. And I also agree with you on Kenneth Walker.
Take a look at quarterbacks against the Seahawks passing wise. They're averaging 40 attempts per game, and then they're averaging 27.4 completions and 281 yards. I'm curious to see what his attempts are for Josh Dobbs in this game. Because if it's low, I think we have to take the over for Dobbs. 32.5 at -140. I'm tempted to take that over because the lowest amount of attempts by a quarterback this season against the Seahawks has been 35, which was Jared Goff, 28 of 35. And then last week, Joe Burrow, 24 of 35 against the Seahawks. I want to see what his completions are as well, because I know they have Keontae Ingram in that backfield, but I'm not sure how effective they will be throwing the football. His completions are only at 20.5. So I'm tempted by that. I'm going to dig a little more into that. He's gone over 20.5 in 3 out of 5 games thus far. And he's had games where he's thrown for 41 attempts, 32 attempts, 41 attempts. Again, this is one of the games where the line is outside of a touchdown. I think it was 9 was where the latest line that I saw for this game. Let's see here. Yeah, right now the Seahawks are favored by 9. So they're expecting him to be trailing in this game, or the Cardinals to be trailing in this game. And I think that maybe having to play catch up, obviously, and only having to throw the football, because I don't trust that running back group for the Arizona Cardinals. So looking at Josh Dobbs either on his pass attempts, and I really do like your angles about that rushing yards here for Josh Dobbs in this game. Lonte, let's get over to maybe the game of the week, the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Currently, the Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite. Total is sitting at 48 in this game. Injury report here for both of these teams. Let me start here with the Chargers. Let's see. Derwin James is listed as questionable for Sunday's contest, is viewed as a true game time decision. Other than that, pretty clean injury report for the LA Chargers. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they did trade back for Mecole Hardman. He is going to be playing in this game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Watson, cornerback, is questionable for the Chiefs secondary. Justin Watson, wide receiver, has been ruled out. He is dealing with an elbow injury. That is pretty much it for the Chiefs. Player props in this game. What are you looking at?
Yeah, just one big one. Well, two big ones. I like Herbert over 266.5 passing yards and over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yep.
Now, this is the best iteration of the Kansas City defense that he's faced, but he's had success against them. He averages 290 yards versus them in 6 career games. He's over this number in 5 of the 6 matchups, 300 plus in 3 of those. He's also had 2+ touchdowns in 5 of those last 6 games, 5 of those 6 matchups. And I mean, just being honest, last week, I know, one player can't lose a game or doesn't sway, but I think Herbert's performance kind of lost in that game with some of his decision making and missing his throws. He missed a bunch of throws. I know we talked about it on yesterday's show. So I think he's had back-to-back lackluster performances under 250 yards in both of those games. I think he comes out here, throws the ball around. Eckler is going to get going some way or another. I think they were kind of force feeding him the ball when they should have been kind of trying to expose the secondary last week. So I'm going with Herbert over 266.5 passing yards and over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I love 1.5 touchdowns for Justin Herbert for everything that you mentioned. So I'm not going to repeat everything that you just mentioned there, but Austin Eckler, man, I was trying to be sneaky with his receptions, but it's at 4.5 at -130. So I think that if they do get Eckler involved in the offense, is going to have to be through the air with Justin Herbert. His receiving yards is at, let's see here, 33.5. I know the run defense has been really good for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm trying to pull up the exact numbers on what they've been giving up on the ground.
Yeah, overall, man, their defense has been much improved. And they're probably going to get Frank Clark. Did they get Frank Clark back already, or is he? I know he's probably going back. They're probably a favorite to get him back.
Yeah, I haven't seen news about that. Let me see if I can find it. But he did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to get. I'm pretty sure that's just the perfect scenario.
Yeah, it says it's still a mystery on if he's going to. I mean, all indications are to have Frank Clark back there, but nothing official yet, I guess was what we should say. I was going to mention something, but I completely went over my head. Running backs against the Chiefs, averaging 17 carries per game, around 76 yards per game on the ground. Receptions is right at that number of 4. They're averaging 3.83 and then 20.33 yards through the air. But again, we know Austin Eckler is a different animal. He's had success through the air against the Chiefs in his career. But again, I feel like those numbers were putting a little bit of premium on, especially because it is Austin Eckler. But last season, 2 receptions, 17 yards. Prior to that, 9 receptions, 55 yards, 4 for 23, 6 for 52, 6 for 33, 4 for 55, 9 for 43, 8 for 108, and 5 for 87 in his career against the Chiefs. So definitely shop around, see if we can find the best number for Austin Eckler. But I do think he'll be involved, at least through the air, in this game. Next game here, Lonte, let's quickly get to it. The Packers and the Denver Broncos. Adam Jones is back for the Green Bay Packers. I'll look at the injury report while you give out your player props here for this game if you have anything.
Yeah, I just got one. I'm just going to go with Jordan Love over, what is the number? 248.5 passing and rushing yards. I mean, self-explanatory with the Denver defense. I mean, the secondary, talent-wise, is out of this world, but they're just not performing right now. For whatever reason, I have no idea why. We saw what passing defenses have been able to do to them, especially the Dolphins. Not saying that Jordan Love is anything Jordan Love or the Green Bay offense is anything close to what Mike McDaniels can do with the Dolphins. But I do think they can have some success here. They had a week off to get everybody else healthy. I think that Aaron Jones being back adds another dimension here. So I do like Jordan Love over that 248.5 passing and rushing yards. Look at Jaden Reed over longest reception. I think he's a deep threat. I think he'll be able to get loose in that secondary as well.
Longest reception for Jaden Reed in this game is at 15.5.
Yep, I think he can hit that.
Let's see what he's done. I'm all over Aaron Jones through the passing game. Over 2.5 receptions, over 18.5 receiving yards. I mean, this Denver defense is historically bad, whether it's on the ground or whether it's through the air. I think that Aaron Jones will be heavily involved. Looking at Jaden Reed here quickly, long receptions of 7, 44, 30, 10, and 30. So the targets were down last week against the Raiders. But I think that if he's in that possibility of him getting 4 to 5 targets down the field, I think that he can definitely get over that long reception of 15.5 for Jaden Reed. All right, Sunday Night Football here, Lante. We've got the Dolphins and the Eagles. Let's look at the injury reports for both of these teams here. I'll start here with the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are Alec Ingold. Their fullback has a foot injury. He's designated as questionable officially for this game. Xavier Howard, questionable tag as well. Jalen Ramsey looks like he's going to be returning fairly soon for the Dolphins. But Connor Williams, guard, questionable, and also Chris Brooks has been placed on the IR for the Miami Dolphins. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, on their injury front, Bradley Roby, cornerback, is listed out for this game. Reed Blankenship, safety, also listed out, and that is pretty much it. So their secondary remains thin for the Philadelphia Eagles. Julio Jones was signed earlier this week. Kind of a head scratcher there for me on why they signed Julio Jones when they need secondary help, but here we are.
Right. That didn't make any sense. And people saying, like, they act like Julio is, back in 2010 or something.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Player props in this game, if you like anything.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be I honestly think the Eagles are gonna rout the Dolphins. I guess that's my hot take for today. I like Dallas Goedert over 41.5 receiving yards. I think the middle of that field is gonna be key here. And what I think the short and intermediate stuff is going to be there for Philadelphia. I mean, we saw what Jalen Hurts did whenever he was trying to take shot after shot. It just wasn't there. So for that reason, I know it's going to turn a lot of people off, but I'm going with A.J. Brown under 80.5 receiving yards. I think it's a Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert type of game. I think they'll try to control the game with the run game, with Swift, the short passes and things of that nature. So I like A.J. Brown under 80.5 receiving yards. And Dallas Goedert over 41.5 receiving yards.
Looking at DeAndre Swift rush attempts in this game, 13.5, minus 160. You take a look at what running backs have done against the Dolphins. They are averaging 23 carries per game. Chargers ran the ball 32 times. Patriots ran it 30 times. Broncos 19, 22 for the Bills, 21 for the Giants, and last week 24 for the Panthers. So I'm going to try to find a 14.5, get a discount on that. I think that, we'll see a run-heavy approach for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. Maybe look at Jalen Hurts rushing yards here as well. I think this is going to be a game where you see the Philadelphia Eagles have those long, sustained drives where we've seen them go 8-9 minutes just running the heck out of the football. I think the rush attempts for both, if you want to look at Jalen Hurts or if you want to take a look at DeAndre Swift, I really like that angle for the rushing attack of this Philadelphia Eagles team. Not much else I had for the Miami Dolphins side. Maybe if you want to look at a Jalen Waddle receiving yards or Tua to throw an interception here, I think maybe that's something I would look at here. But I don't think this is going to be a Tua game. I think that I'm going to try to find a team sack prop for the Eagles. I think that they'll have some success against this offensive line of the Miami Dolphins, but I do think that this is a Eagles game as well against the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. All right, Lante, let's put together our touchdown parlay here before we get over to our underdog fantasy entry. You had named someone earlier you like to find the end zone.
Yeah, I like Mike Evans. 10
Okay.
career touchdowns versus the Falcons. I think he finds the end zone. I mean, we got it's National Tight End Day, so we can't have a show or a tight end or a prop without a tight end getting into the end zone. So let's go with Dan Waller to find the end zone. That's my Giants homerism right there. Go with Waller to find
Down,
the
yeah.
end zone. And
Darren
who else
Waller plus 390. Let's see here. Who did I like to find the end zone this week? Devontae Adams being at plus 165, man. I mean, like
he's
it's
gonna get the
Devontae
volume.
Adams.
He's gonna get the volume.
Yeah. I'm throwing him in there.
Yeah, throw that.
And let's find one more that we like.
What
Cooper Kupp
about
being at plus 105. I mean, it's almost even money. Kenneth Walker minus 215.
wow?
What about the JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba with?
Yeah, a lot of people like him this week. I've been hearing a lot of people say they like him.
I think
mean,
just
I guess
because
it's
DK
because of
is not
DK.
going to be playing. Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe try to lock it at plus 120.
Yeah.
What about anything from the Chargers and the Chiefs game? Keenan Allen's at plus 160.
I like Keenan. What about Josh Palmer? Josh Palmer has been pretty good for them
Plus
as well.
280.
Yeah, I like Josh Palmer.
All right, let's throw him in there. That's 4.
Yeah, I like Josh
Ooh,
Palmer.
this parlay is spicy. All right, Mike Evans, anytime touchdown, plus 150. Darren Waller, plus 390. Devontae Adams, plus 165. And Josh Palmer, plus 280. That gets you plus 122 to 1.
I like that. I need that after the Saturday.
All right. So there's our touchdown parlay. Let's quickly put together our underdog fantasy entry with our favorite player props for this week. Let's see here. Let's go to NFL. All right. Lante, give me 2 of your favorite player props for this week.
Minshew over 199.5 passing yards. Is that available?
Let's see. Minshew Mania. 198.5 passing yards. We'll go higher on that. What else?
Even better. Jaylen Warren, 53.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Jaylen Warren, I have 53.5. Yes, we do have that as well.
Those are my 2 favorite ones of the day.
All right. I'm gonna go with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, 79.5 rushing yards. Let's go with the higher on that. And then I think it's an Aaron Jones week as well. I really like that Swift one that we talked about with his rush attempts to go over at 14. I really like that. It's at 14 on underdog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 3 running backs this week and then 1 quarterback. So we got Gardner Minshew, higher 198.5 passing yards. Jaylen Warren, rushing and receiving, higher 53.5. Kenneth Walker, higher 79.5 rushing yards. And then DeAndre Swift, higher on his rush attempts of 14. That little payout of $100 will get you 1,000. 1,000 if you go 4 for 4. Again, it's a great reminder. If you haven't already signed up for Underdog Fantasy, they are matching your first deposit of up to $500. So again, come cash in with us. If you already have an account, just make one for your significant other. We're not going to tell anybody that, but make one for your significant other. But make sure you use that promo code SGPN. Again, get involved with us on Underdog Fantasy. Again, make sure to use that promo code SGPN. First deposit bonus of up to $500, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. And again, like I mentioned, I think I feel really good about our entry this week. Again, DeAndre Swift, higher on his rush attempts of 14. Kenneth Walker, 79.5 rushing yards, higher. Jaylen Warren, 53.5 rushing and receiving, higher. And then Gardner Minshew, passing yards, 198.5 higher. And then just to recap our touchdown parlay, Mike Evans, anytime touchdown. Darren Waller, anytime touchdown. Devontae Adams and Josh Palmer. That's going to get you 122 to 1 on that 4 team or 4 player anytime touchdown parlay. The fantasy guys are up next. The Fantasy Lounge. If you want to head over to the SGPN Fantasy Football Lounge, they're going to get you all your questions answered about guys to start and sit. And I'm sure they're going to go through a lot more stuff there as well. Lante, anything else you want to mention, my friend, before we get out of here?
No, that's it, man. Best of luck to everybody. Make sure you shop around and get the best number for sure.
Yep.
Enjoy the games.
Yep. Shop around, get the best number. Enjoy the games. A lot of games with spreads that are right around a field goal. So we should have a nice back and forth or games coming down to the final drive or even, game-winning field goals here. So hopefully it's an exciting week of NFL. Hopefully we put some more money in your pockets with our player props. Again, head over to the Fantasy Lounge, guys. They should be getting started here momentarily. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Let's break these books off and let it ride.